Good evening. I would like to call to order the Monday, August 18th, 2025 meeting of the Wilson School Board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Here.
Mrs. Denny?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
Mrs. Casper?
Here.
Dr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. McCray?
Here.
Mr. McCree?
Here.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Mrs. Cocker?
Here.
8 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the pledge to the flag. This evening, we have a very exciting part of communication, so I would like to ask Dr. Weber, high school principal, to present our 2025 graduates.
Evening. I hope everyone is excited for the start of the school year. I was so excited, I decided to call everyone at about 5:30 this morning. So yeah, that was great. I have had quite a share of ribbing today from pretty much everyone, which is wholeheartedly deserved. So my apologies for that. Tomorrow will be at 4 a.m., just to keep you guys on your toes. So I have the distinct honor of recognizing our final 6 graduates for the class of 2025, bringing our grand total to 547 students that have reached this milestone. We are fortunate 3 were able to make it and attend this evening, and 3 were unable to attend. So I'm going to recognize the 3 that are not here, and then I'm going to have the 3 that are present to come up and be formally recognized by the board. So the first 3, Nathaniel Hassan Concepcion Augusto, Emily Altagracio Arcino Santos, and Samuel Eric Kaufman, all made it to the finish line. They're not here tonight, but we should recognize them anyway. So please join me. The last 3 I'm going to have come up as I read their names. So when I read your name, come on up. Hector Derek Solar Vizacarando. Gavin William Cole. And Gianluca Rodriguez. Come on down. I cannot begin to tell you guys how proud I am of all of the individuals, the perseverance, grit, and just the hard work to get to the finish line. While the pathway may have been unconventional at times, it's no doubt just as impressive. And each and every one of them I've had the pleasure to get to know as individuals, and they are spectacular, and I'm looking forward to see what they can accomplish in the future. And so with that, I turn it over to Dr. Trickett to formally commend them.
Before we do that, just again a reiteration of Dr. Weber's remarks. I hope that each of you, as well as the students who are on here today, are really proud of your accomplishments. I mean, if you look behind you, you have family members and friends and internship mentors and their families who are here to see this moment, to see you graduate, to see you complete your 14-year journey in our high school and other locations, other places. But I hope that you take this feeling of confidence that you have right now, this feeling of achievement, and use that to propel you into wherever your next step is, whether it's into the workforce or into Penn College of Technology. You've already achieved great things. You graduated from Wilson High School. Well, in a minute, you'll graduate from Wilson High School. And that's not easy to do. It doesn't matter when you did it, you did it. And I hope that, I know that you'll take that forward. So along with that confidence, I challenge you to also continue to make good choices. Surround yourself with people who have similar values and similar goals. We talk about this a lot at graduation time and how important that is. And I trust that you recognize that and that you're wiser perhaps than some of your peers. Again, just tremendously proud of you, proud of the grandparents and parents and caregivers and loved ones that are here for nurturing these fine young men on their journey, and hopefully today you also feel a sense of accomplishment and pride as they are declared graduates. So without further ado, by the power bestowed upon me by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Department of Education, I now pronounce you as graduates of the Wilson High School class of 2025. Congratulations. You guys can move your tassels. Move your tassels. Great job. Great job. So proud of you. Yep. Thank you. Great job. Proud of you.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Congratulations again to our graduates. Okay, on to our next item. Mr. Maravich, do you have any solicitor announcement? Okay. Mrs. Burkholder, do we have any public participation?
No public participation.
Okay, thank you. The board did meet in executive session, both prior to tonight's meeting, as well as, sorry, my calendar is so full, hold on one moment, on the 13th, last Wednesday evening, to discuss, last Wednesday was partial, it was kind of split in half, was partial for property discussion, as well as a continuation of questions for the presentation that we were given for debt. And I believe we have we have the ability to share some of that tonight as well. And that is pursuant to item 9.6 for our issuance of debt to finish all of our construction projects. So some of them are underway and others are still need to be funded. So those were our two executive sessions. Moving on to approval of minutes, looking for a motion to request the minutes of the school board meeting held on August 4th, 2025.
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a consent item, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to committee reports. Mr. Case, Operations Committee.
Thank you, President Cocker. I'm not used to going first, so here we are. So we had our Operations Committee meeting at 4:30 p.m. today in this room, and a couple of items that we talked about. We did have an update on the capital projects and the financial update. That is all posted online if anyone's interested in taking a look at that. That has our actual projects that are open, projects that have been completed, and proposed projects, our cash reserves, and basically a financial recap, which I won't go into all the details, but it is online under the Operations Committee. We had some updates from Mr. Simcox about the construction projects that are going on right now. Pleased to say that we have learned about the Phase 2 occupancy permit that is now well under the way. We have been provided access to the buildings. So the orchestra rooms, the band rooms, the choir rooms, all the classrooms for Phase 2 are all open now for the first day of school, which is going to be great. And the seam shop will be open soon. So it's going to be an exciting time for Meet the Teacher Night coming up, which is going to be a wonderful experience for parents and students seeing the spaces for the first time. With regard, so that's also the auditorium update. We had an update on the Lincoln Park construction and the Southern construction projects, and wrapping up the building permits, hopefully by the end of this week, where then we can start putting shovels in the ground soon. So that is coming along. There's been pre-construction meetings, and there was a construction meeting already that happened for the Southern construction project. The G Wing, which is this wing, that's being converted into classrooms, and I may add that it's 8 new classrooms that have been created, plus 2 new areas that have moved folks out from Southern. So there's 10 new spaces for, when we moved into Westview as an operation, or the administrative team, 10 new classrooms or 10 new spaces are created in this. So those are ready to go. There's been a lot of preparation in this building, and the teachers have been great, the administration's been great, a lot of activity moving back and forth to get into Westview, which most of the board, I believe, just about all the board has taken a look at that space last week during one of our meetings, and it's a wonderful space to move administration out and create 10 new spaces here. So things are going well. With regard to Westview, there's an update on there, a couple things that need to be fixed for everyone to move in, and that's all wrapped up and finished. So I don't think there's really much more to do in that building, and things are going along well there. There was happy to say that for West, our middle school, the West lighting projects at the final stages. I think by the end of this week or early next week, all the lighting will be done, all the projects for the lighting that happen at night will be basically finished, or during the day will be finished this week, and then next week there'll be some wrap-ups at nighttime which won't impact any of the classroom and students. The natatorium update, filters, the drain, pressure washing, cleaning and repair of all the entire pool, that is all taken care of, and the pool is all ready to go for this year. We had an update on the tech ed space here, which was great. It's happy to hear that we now have a paint booth, plasma cutter, welding room. There's an actual auto lift. We've done some great things. And Mr. Wallens, Michael Wallens, has been really leading up the charge on redefining our entire tech ed program here at Wilson, where we have folks, students that aren't going to have to go to BCTC, thank you, and they'll be able to take some really interesting, great classes and programs here, which is phenomenal. And I would recommend, Dr. Trickett did bring it up, where maybe this board should really take a walk through of that area and see what's going on. Some exciting things. I reached out to, mentioned to Mr. Simcox that I'd want to see the space, but I really do think that the entire board should go and take a look. The wrestling room HVAC system is it in place? I missed that part. Is it in place now, or
No, it's in progress.
In progress.
Being designed.
That we had a bit of an issue late last year with the HVAC system that kind of had a small smoldering and smoke during one of our events, but insurance is covering that, and that will be taken care of. So let's see, moving on to athletics and extracurricular. We're going through the turf grooming and the GMAX testing for our our artificial turf fields, and that is sort of not necessarily a prereq for PIAA, but it is definitely good to have all the testing that goes in place with those fields, so we keep our students safe. And there was some discussion over the tennis courts that need to be resurfaced at some point in the future. Let's see, transportation, Randy's been Mr. Williams has been, hard at work all summer long with him and his team, getting, preparing all the buses and everyone, the schedules, we have a call center in place now, getting everything ready for back to school, and this should be one of the best starts for our transportation department that's ever been had, knock on wood. Nearly 100% staffed, and just a couple of fit and finish items on hiring. So all in all, a very great operations committee meeting, and just very happy for the entire team and the district. And lastly, from a custodial perspective, staffing as well has been going fantastic. It seems like Wilson is, a draw for some other, I wouldn't say necessarily districts, but other schools in the area that folks want to come to Wilson and start working for us, which is, we have almost full staff hiring. We have 5 folks that want to join us at Wilson, which is not typical of, the custodial area, which is great. There's really good people. Should I say there's 5 great candidates, and we may not be able to hire all of them, which is a good position to be in. So we didn't have an executive session, and all is well. The next, I'll give an update on when the next one is. We didn't talk about that, but it's on the calendar. It's my report. Quite lengthy. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Human Resources, Mrs. Casper.
Yes, thank you, President Cocker. The Human Resources Committee met on August 11th. We discussed and renewed job descriptions and pay structure for our teacher mentor program. Additionally, we engaged in a conversation about adding an additional teacher job posting platform in addition to the PA REAP, which is the standard pretty much for most school districts around the area. The new platform, paeducator.net, is a site where we can post and review hundreds of applications of potential candidates. Although this platform originated in the western part of the state as part of the Allegheny IU, some districts in our neighboring counties have been using the site. So it might be an interesting new way to bring folks to the district and to attract different folks into the district. We also reviewed the open professional positions remaining in the 25-26 school year. Our administrative team is working diligently to continue to fill those remaining openings, as well as making arrangements so that we have qualified individuals to support our students for the start of the school year. So that is my report. Our next HR committee meeting is September 10th.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Well, good evening. So we are having a great start to the school year. So last week, we welcomed over 60 new teachers for our new teacher orientation event. And once again, this year, we took them all on a bus tour of the Wilson community, which was so much fun. We went to all of our buildings, took some pictures of the new staff in front of their buildings, and also pointed out some other points of interest along the way. We also gave all of those new staff members a Wilson swag bag complete with special gifts from some of our community partners, which you'll see on the board agenda where we recognize those donors. So we're super excited to welcome these new Bulldogs to our team. It was just a great week with all of them. We're super excited. And then, of course, tomorrow we kick off the year with our staff. We're going to have breakfast provided by Wilson Food Services, and then Dr. Trickett is going to present our strategic vision and district goals for our staff. And then on Wednesday, this is maybe 4 or 5 years in a row, we've partnered with the Wilson Education Association, where we co-sponsor a district-wide lunch where we feed our entire staff. Again, Wilson Food Service puts that lunch on, and it's amazing. So it's in both the upper and lower house CAFs, and we get great attendance every year. So obviously these two events set the stage for us to welcome our students back for the new school year, which is next Monday, a week from today. Crazy. And then finally, we wanted to share that this is our second year doing the year in review. It is complete, and it's going to be mailed to all district residents this week. So this year's piece showcases stories of our students, staff, and community. It does have some information in it about our previous strategic plan, as well as a look forward to our 2030 plan. And just want to do a huge shout out to Digital Media Coordinator Sam Weitzel. She is the one who pulled all of that information together throughout the summer. So make sure that you watch your mailbox because you will be getting that in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Any additional board member appointment reports?
Still waiting on the budget.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Schneider. Any other reports? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Maravich, do you have any report? Okay. Then that takes us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. Tonight on the superintendent's report, you'll see one retirement, some resignations, some that we expected, others that we're trying to plan for and trying to fill some holes and gaps. Just a reminder that certain employees have different transitional timelines depending on with contracts. So just because we see someone on here doesn't necessarily mean that we have an immediate vacancy. Sometimes we're permitted to hold them for up to 60 days to provide some transition for kids. Change of status, we have credits earned, which is a great time of year to kind of celebrate our teachers and other members of our team who are continuing to pursue graduate degrees and additional learning. We also have change of status reports, and with us tonight is Mr. Scott Fitzgerald, who is listed under status change. We are recommending him tonight to shift from assistant principal into the high school, into the director of arts and co-curriculars. We went through a pretty comprehensive interview process, quite a few applicants for this particular role. The selection committee was really impressed with Scott's, not only his dedication and focus to our district over the last 9 years, his experience as a marching band and music teacher for years, experience outside of education in a corporate setting, but just really his focus on trying to increase access and opportunity for kids into co-curriculars. Really spent a lot of time in his interview process talking about those pieces, clubs, activities, which was nice to hear a perspective as someone who's sitting in a high school for so long. So we are recommending tonight to transition him into this role. However, we don't have a start date because obviously we need to fill Mr. Fairchild's current role prior to that start date occurring. This is the culmination of really 2 years of conversation with the board and committees and other teammates, really trying to make sure that we're emphasizing theater, visual arts, performing arts, co-curriculars, music, at the same level that we do our athletic programs. So really looking forward to working with you, Scott, in this new role and seeing the leadership that you bring to ensuring that our kids have more opportunities today or tomorrow than they do today. Lastly, you see some support staff hires and some professional hires. Again, some of those folks will be joining our team to start the school year. However, on the other side, some of those individuals and professionals are also being held. And then lastly, we have our extracurricular coaches and assistants, as well as some camp payments.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. Looking for a motion to approve Superintendent's Report 4.1 through 4.6 as presented.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Second, Mr. Hart, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Congratulations to Mr. Fairchild for his new position. I'm excited to see what you do with it to keep extracurriculars even across the board. Congratulations. Okay. Looking for ratification for the following field trips. I think I mentioned this last meeting, requesting permission to approve the high school softball team traveling to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Last meeting, we approved the baseball team on March 12th through the 16th, 2026, no cost to the school district, 3 days out of school for students. Looking for a motion to approve 5.1. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to consent items. Looking for a motion to accept with gratitude the following donations. From May's Sandwich Shop, West Lawn, coupons for free sandwich for new teacher orientation. From Ula Bowls and Wyomissing, discount coupons for new teacher orientation. And from Clean Eats Wyomissing, discount coupons for new teacher orientation. Kind of makes me want to be a new teacher. Those are really 3 great shops. Looking for a motion to accept the donations for 6.1.
So moved. Case?
Thank you, Mr. Case. And second, Mr. McCree. Any discussion? Okay, Hearing, oh, this is also a consent item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to Human Resources, 7.1, request approval of the summer school original credit compensation as presented. So looking for a motion for 7.1.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Second, Mr. Hart, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Technology and Media, 8.1, request approval of a new lease agreement for multifunction copiers. And just a note that in the comments or extra information, that the prices vary because they're each attached to a different number of copiers. So the 60-month lease for Stratix for 32 multifunction copiers for multiple schools is $3,469 a month, while, for example, the 60-month lease for 2 multifunction copiers for special ed are $280 a month, which is different than the 2 for Berkshire Heights, which are $118 a month because they have different capacities and different functions. So it's not that, there are different contracts because the copiers provide different utility for the schools. Looking for a motion for, looking for a motion, right? Okay. I forgot where we were. Looking for a motion for 8.1.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Second,
Denny.
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree.
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
On to finance, which we will have 3 separate votes on. So this agenda tonight is just really challenging us. 9.1, request to approve the payment of bills as presented. For general fund, $3,933,133.70 from capital reserves, $1,215,099.31 from our 2021 C construction fund, $514,457.22 from food service fund, $9,014.34, child care fund, $3,268.75, Southern Middle School Activity Fund, $100, West Middle School Activity Fund, $1,642.97, and the High School Student Activity Fund, $35,723.33. Looking for a motion for 9.1.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
9.3, request approve the financial reports as attached for including the treasurer's report, investment reports, balance sheets, and fiscal activity. As well as 9.4, request to approve the budget transfers dated June 30th, 2025 as attached. Looking for a motion for both 9.3 and 9.4. Mr. McCree, thank you. Do we have a second?
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
And 9.6, request approval of the resolution for the issuance of debt as presented. Looking for a motion for 9.6.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Discussion. Mr. McCray?
Yes, if I may. Yes, there's a 55-page attachment here that everybody can obviously go through at their leisure if they'd like to outline what is being presented here. But in a kind of nutshell, This is approximately $60 million of new money, with the about $50 million of that going toward the construction costs for the Southern Middle School project and Lincoln Park Elementary projects that this board obviously approved at our past meetings. So the majority of the new money is meant to cover that. Along with that, we are refinancing our existing debt, and also including about $10 million of additional capital projects as well, bringing us to a total of $60 million in new debt plus the restructuring of our existing debt facilities. And the goal of this the goal of the restructuring, along with the issuance, is to maintain our annual budget debt service at a run rate of $11.4 million, which will allow us to continue to service the debt with no additional tax millage impact. So with that, I thought it might be appropriate to have Scott Kramer and Mike Min from Raymond James and FSL come up and give a short presentation outlining what all is being presented here, and then obviously continue any further discussion from the board.
That was basically a culmination of the years of going through these projects. For you tonight, for your consideration, is a resolution that would allow us to go out and raise the debt for these projects, as Mr. McCray went through, as well as restructure existing debt to keep, again, that run rate 11.4. You did a great job of going through that and summarizing. Based on current market rates, this is something we could do at a better rate than we were looking at back in April when we were considering this. So it is still very favorable. And the reason that the resolution is a little bit higher than the amounts that Ms. McCray went through is just because we have to have that flexibility because we actually haven't locked in the interest rates, but we are going to file it with the state. And then once the state, it gives us that flexibility to amortize debt in certain ways to effectually get that $11.4 million run rate. And then once we are completed, we send that final certificate to the state, and everything is locked in. So that's the reason that there's a little bit more than we're actually going for. It's, again, just that flexibility just because of state law. And we would be happy to answer any questions that you had about that, but if the board decides to move forward with that, we're looking to lock in interest rates in the beginning of September. So you will know your exact run rate, which we do not anticipate it being anything different than what we have shown you. If anything, maybe a little bit lower, hopefully, depending on where rates go. And then we would have closing happen sometime in mid-October, when all those funds would be available for the school district to use on their projects.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is the $115 million number that you see in the resolution. I think Mr. McCray references roughly $60 million for capital projects and $25 million for refinancing. The 115, once we settle on final interest rates, the folks at Fox Rothschild will file what's called a certificate of non-completion, so that the 115 comes off, and the actual amount that's going to be that roughly $85 to $88 million, depending on interest rates, is really what the folks in Harrisburg end up seeing. So don't be alarmed that we're filing something that's $115 million. It does come back off the books once everything is completed. We file for the flexibility that Mike mentioned, and then once it's finalized, they get the real number.
And I think obviously what this chart is showing here is with the refinancing, our debt payment schedule would go out to 2045. Is that correct? Correct. Okay.
Any questions from the board for Scott and Mike?
No questions, but I'd like to have some conversation with, no questions for you guys, but I'd like to have some conversation.
Okay, thank
unless there's
you.
other questions. Thank you.
Mr. Case?
Yeah, I just want to recap a little bit because I'm going to be a no vote on this. Last board meeting, we were presented with two options of $50 million and $60 million for capital projects. And I just want to recap for the public, but sort of the events that have occurred. We had an original budget for our projects for Southern and Lincoln Park, and we had, sometime last year, we had a budget of X, and that budget was then inflated around the April timeframe recently, when we were about to go out to bid. And, there was tariffs that we were questioning about. There's all sorts of questions around what this project would cost. And everything was inflated, and the bids came back, which was great news, about what we originally budgeted for these projects. I'm bringing this all up because at this point in time, I'm not convinced we need the extra $10 million. I think we would be fine with going out to, getting capital and cash for the additional $50 million, not 60, and that's why I'm a no. And I do believe that, we have $10 million or $9 million in HVAC systems that we would be using for this additional money. My question back to the administration, and I just want to preface this with, I trust Dr. Trickett and our finance team of administrators, Christine, wholeheartedly. This is not a question of trust. This is not a question of, I have full faith and support in the administration. I'm asking the board and the administration to take a deep look at some of our other programs within the school district where we can come up with $1 million a year and find out, and figure out what we can, potentially cut or look at some of our programs to have this extra $10 million instead of going and going for the capital grab. I say this also because, I think we should be living within our means. We are using this additional $10 million for maintaining our district, not for building buildings. And it's a philosophical difference of opinion of my peers here of just wanting to have a checkpoint, and we keep sort of saying that our taxes are going to go up or our millage is going to go up if we don't get this money now, or we need this cushion now. If our bids would have come back at the inflated rates, and we would have went forward with these projects, I would ask all the members of this fiscally responsible board what we would be doing then. Would we be still asking for an additional $10 million? Probably not. We would probably be digging deep within ourselves to try and figure out what we would actually, not necessarily cut, or programs we would look at within Wilson that maybe there's some low-hanging fruit that we shouldn't be continuing to do. Maybe we're not staffed appropriately in certain areas. And we need to have those hard conversations, and I don't really feel that as a board we have those hard conversations often enough. We just have full faith in our administration. We just continue to raise the bar of Wilson and raise the bar of Wilson, and we just continue, and that's a good thing. But I don't ever feel we have checkpoints of saying, hey, maybe we should not have this particular program and be throwing money there. Is that really serving many students, or is it just serving a couple? So while this $10 million is not a question of whether we need it or not, my concern is if we have an extra $10 million sitting in our capital budget, we can get lazy on the general fund. If we were $10 million and we were only going for 50, we would actually have to make some tough decisions or good decisions, if you will, on the general fund and how we maintain our district going forward. We have a certain run rate for this district, keeping roofs, updated, keeping HVAC updated. Should we be really going for, loans for that? I feel like the way it's sort of presented, it's no one here would buy a car for $399 a month and not question how long that debt's going to be for a car, or the interest that we're going to pay. But it's somewhat presented as, our run rate is the same for taxes. It's $399 a month. But we truly do need to dig deeper. And I'll ask you, we're all fiscally, conservative. Are we? So I would just ask if we are or not. So this isn't a matter of faith or trust. I just think that if we would go for 50 million, I think we would do still pretty well as a school district. And in 8 years, when rates could potentially be lower, they say that they are falling, it would be a different conversation. So I just wanted to express my no vote. Open the conversation if anyone would like to have.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider?
Yeah, Dr. Trickett, could you or Mrs. Schlossman, excuse me, talk us through like the thought process that got us to this recommendation as opposed to the 50 million recommendation that Mr. Case was referencing?
Sure. We do have a slide, I believe, with a capital funding plan as well. So essentially, as Mr. Case explained, we've been going through a series of updates to our community and to our board in regards to our estimated costs with both of these construction projects. And we've presented that a few times, and I think there was, back in September of 2024, again in April of 2025, trying to work through the best possible estimated budgets. We've been through this before as a board and as a team with our first rendition of the Performing Arts Center. That project came in substantially over estimated budget, and we made some shifts as a board, and the board recommended going back to the drawing board, literally, and we redrew and redesigned a new school or building, and I think that it actually was for the better. So we've been through this process twice. We've gone through the bidding process, and we've learned from those processes. Lincoln Park had some unique challenges. We had soil conditions that had to be engineered and analyzed. We had some water supply challenges to get fresh water to the site. So we were working through trying to figure out how to appropriately budget for those pieces. And one of our early on estimates to secure the soil in a way that was appropriate for the school was over $5 million. So we were hearing that budgetary estimate and then also hearing other estimates from other contractors with different ideas. That was substantially lower. So as we were going through this process, we got closer to the spring and as we approached into even the summer, looking at some of the national and the international implications to budgeting. In regards to tariffs and the uncertainties with contractors, and understandably that all those costs are passed on to the owner, right? Contractors aren't going to eat costs of increased goods and commodities. So we did. We came back to the board, and our architects and engineers and contractors on the outside kind of looked at our numbers, and we did adjust them. We increased the costs there on a square footage basis based on different primes, and we also looked at our contingencies, which is how we fund unforeseen things like change orders. So we presented those budgets, and we worked with our team, at our financing team, and we looked at different scenarios, one of which was 60 million and one was 75 million. And then we went through our bidding process, and the bidding process came to us and said, hey, you know what, our projects are actually good. And to Mr. Case's point, they came in very, very close into our range that was presented back in the fall. We had some kind of a carve out at the bottom of that one slide. It's not on this particular slide deck, but it was a carve out back in September. You don't need to pull it up. That talked about unforeseens and things we didn't know. We weren't sure about, like 4 or 5 items. So we got our bids in, and they were favorable. But part of that process, as we were getting our bids ready, is trying to value engineer the building. So we're trying to cut costs as much as we can before the bid package is released. And this is a really long answer, but essentially what we're doing is we're looking at areas in the buildings that we feel like we could pull back on. And what the board then had to make decisions on was these add alternates and add deducts, more than you considered in the prior construction project. So those add alternates and add deducts were to give us flexibility had the bids come in too high and that we were over our estimated financing needs. So the board did accept some of those add alternates, and we declined some of the add deducts in that bidding process. However, there were some pieces at Southern Middle School specifically that we did not bring forward in the bid package. So there are some items in this proposal, here it is, that was pulled up in blue, that account for some of those pieces. And you'll see an allocation, potential improvements to Southern, 2.1 million, but that does not mean we're committing to doing all of those improvements. It means that the board, should you move forward with a resolution, has the flexibility over the coming months to make decisions about those improvements. And those improvements range in as far as paving the entire site, for example, changing out some additional doors that we omitted intentionally in this spec to lower the price. Some flooring pieces in the cafeteria and the second floor to upgrade the flooring to a more durable and longer-term product, similar to what we have in some of other buildings. So that kind of, the blue section there speaks to that. It also speaks to the additional, now we have a better idea of the cost of the G wing. So we're currently in the A wing, which is the administrative building. The G wing is our soon-to-be vacant band and choir spaces. At the time, we were holding a potential construction cost of $1 million when we were having these conversations with regard to that debt issuance, our prior debt issuance. We now know, in working with our team, that the cost of that project will be somewhere in the $3 million to $3.5 million. So we're allocating $3.3 million in this debt issuance for potential construction of that space. Right now, it's shaping up that we will have a black box theater in the current choir room, and then 5 classrooms, as well as new bathrooms in that wing to support, hopefully, an entire department in the high school. We have a placeholder for the new property if the board would so decide to secure property over the next 3 years, because this money has a timeline to be spent. Again, the board would have flexibility, whether it's the property we've been discussing for 2 years or a different property, to reallocate any of that money to purchase a property. And then when you get down below into the salmon-colored, now we're really looking, as Mr. Case was explaining, some of those capital-related expenses. That's on our plan that we've been talking about and prioritizing over the last few years. And what this money would allow us to do is to slide them in our plan and make sure that we can do comprehensive work on our HVAC systems in 4 schools, as well as some control technology, our fire panels, which we've talked about, really just needing to completely be replaced. Bathrooms in the upper and lower house, that building is aging, obviously, and we have a plan in place to replace 2 bathrooms per year in that school, and then also windows at Whitfield. So I hope that answers the question, Mr. Schneider. This is the current best thinking in regards to how to allocate that extra $10 million.
Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Casper.
I just wanted to add, it's important that the public knows that we're not necessarily voting on these particular items, but that we're voting on the 60 million, the 60 million.
Right, and I was wondering if we could have the slide, I believe it has the capital reserve fund over time. Yes, okay. So this slide for personally is what I think made me realize that the extra $10 million, if you will, that salmon section on the previous slide, is not just something that, first of all, it's not just an extra $10 million that we don't know what we're going to do with, and we're just going to keep saved somewhere. That $10 million, everything on the bond that has to be paid or used in 3 years' time. So there are already earmarked projects that we know we have to complete, and that $10 million is going to be used to complete the projects. We currently have reserves in our capital reserves for projects. And the problem is, if you look at the top chart, as we progress throughout the next 6 years, that amount of money is going to be used to the point where we are 6.5 million under where we need to be. That's why they're in parentheses in the orange box. So that's a problem. If we are going to continue to keep a balance in our capital reserves, that money is going to come from 2 places. A, taxes, because we would need to continue to infuse money in the transfer line, infuse money into the capital reserves, or from the general fund, which means we're taking it from another source. So we're taking it from staffing, we're taking it from programs, we're taking it from somewhere else that's already in our general fund. So personally, the fact that our $10 million infusion into the capital reserves puts us at a positive end for the 10 plus years moving forward, that's what sold me on the need for it. Also, the ability to, and I think Dr. Trickett mentioned the flexibility, the ability to be flexible within that time frame as a district, because $8.7 million on the previous slide of HVAC projects is a lot of money. So we have we have one school where the HVAC just stops working. Where's that money coming from? We have reserved money. However, we also have projects that we have in our timeline, thanks to Mr. Simcox. He has a plan, right? We know, okay, next year we're going to be working on this project moving forward. That means that another project is going to have to stop in order to take care of the emergency HVAC. This gives us more flexibility. And again, I think other than the fact that we'll have a positive reserve, my sticking point for this is that it's not just an extra $10 million of fund money. These are earmarked projects that we know we have to complete, and we are going to be able to complete within 3 years as opposed to maybe the next 10 under the original plan. Any other comments or questions?
I would just add, if you look at the transfers, so last year 1.5, then 1.9, 2.7, then they all flatline at 1. So, when we look at projected expenses, 7.9 in 26-27, so there's a huge uptick there. And again, it's more of a philosophy of looking at the projects that we have on deck. It's not even the capital projects. I think we can do a better job looking at the general fund and what programs that we tell me the last program that we've ever cut here at all at Wilson. Everything we do is fantastic. Everything we do is worthwhile in keeping. We don't we don't reevaluate every now and then. What I'm saying is we have plenty of money in the general fund that we can be looking at programs to fund elsewhere without raising taxes. So I work for a company that we've had probably in the last, every other month for the last 3 months, we've been laying off folks, closing programs down. Many companies in America are doing that right now. The economy is not great. So we're going out for more instead of kind of buckling the belt line like most Americans are doing right now. So, we have to live within our means at some point. We obviously have a run rate that is, we can't continue this. Our taxes continue to go up, and at some point you have to say, hey, let's pause here and make sure that, we have some really hard discussions about what programs we keep and don't.
Mr. Hart?
Just a question. If we do this now, our run rate will remain approximately 11.4 million until 2045, correct? Does that sound right? Is that what I heard the presentation?
I defer to Ms. Schlossman.
I would agree, yeah. Had we made no more issuance of debt, had we make no more adjustments, that is as is outlined, yes.
If
I
we
think
don't-
our balanced board would anticipate in the next 20 years, there will probably be some additional building projects the district will need. At that time, obviously, those future boards would reevaluate what needed to be done in terms of that run rate, in terms of that borrowing at that time.
If we don't if we don't look to fund the $10 million in capital reserve projects now, does that have the ability to impact and increase our run rate in future years and having to raise taxes then? And that's the way I see it. If we don't do it now, we will raise taxes to get this money when we can do it now without having to raise taxes. Am I misled on that, or does that sound right?
Again, I would defer. I'd ask Christine to come up and the financing team just to respond to that question.
And before that, if we don't cut any programs, sure, that could potentially happen.
Yes, and our financing team can correct me if I misspeak. But basically, the team brought forward to the school board the ability to go anywhere up to $75 million of a debt issuance and stay at that $11.4 million run rate, which is already included in our budget this year. So that can remain the same with this particular motion that's up for vote. With the $10 million, because we can use that money to take care of some of these projects that are in the pipeline that we know have to be done, we should be good for basically the 8 years that we have a window that we have to kind of sit and wait for our debt to fall off until we can look again at restructuring. So about 8-year time frame, is that right? Until we could possibly need additional debt for maybe additional building that we'd have to construct, and then restructure our existing debt to either remain at the 11.4 or possibly for a future board to consider that that might have to be increased depending on what the financing need is at the time. So that is one of the points of if 3 years from now, if we borrow a lower amount, and 3 years from now we would need $10 million to do something that we don't have the reserves for, or $20 million that we don't have the reserves for, at that point, because we'd be within that 8-year window, when we go out for debt, if we wouldn't restructure, which would be very costly during that time frame, we would have to have that extra payment for that new debt tacked on to that 11.4, which would be basically a millage impact on that particular line item for expense.
So if we do it now, it's not going to be an impact at this point unless other projects come up that we didn't foresee.
Correct. So right now, 11.4 is in the current year budget, and it would remain there.
Thank you. My next question would be to the finance chair. What would you recommend? I know we've talked back and forth, you gave your report, but what is your recommendation of you and your committee?
Yeah, the recommendation is what's brought forth here in this proposal. I think, the word you kind of hear a lot, I think, Dr. Tricka said a lot, is flexibility. And I believe that's what landing on this specific amount allows the district to do in order to move forward with projects that have been in our feasibility study, that have been on the radar of the facilities committee, the finance committee, the administration, actually for several years. This is not by any means a slush fund. This is not to put, fountains and atriums or marble floors, throughout the district. This is for window replacement, HVAC systems, all those kind of fun things that, frankly, I think this board and this community expects of us to maintain the condition of the buildings that we are stewards of. I think, myself as a parent of students, myself as a board member, and in creating the environment that we always say we want to create in terms of an environment where students love to learn and employees love to work. Part of doing that is taking care properly of those buildings and planning for the proper care of those buildings. And I think this specific amount allows us to do that. I think another point that Mrs. Schlosser made is that school districts are different from other entities. A lot of other businesses or even our personal lives will have lines of credit that are available to us. Wilson School District doesn't have lines of credit. So if there were to be a catastrophic failure of an HVAC system or something like that, there's not a something like a home equity loan line that we could go out and just write that amount for. Having this amount pre-planned for allows us to proactively take care of and plan for those situations. And finally, I would just say that our schools are just like our own. These are hundreds of millions of dollars of property. We're spending obviously $30+ million to build a new elementary school at Lincoln Park. You multiply that times 5 other elementary schools. You add in 2 larger middle schools. You add in the high school complex that we're on with two schools, plus Berkshire Heights and so forth like that. Literally, we are sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate that we are stewards of and must take care of. If you do any basic Google search, will tell you that property owners should budget anywhere from 2 to 4% of the value of those properties for capital improvements each year. So when you look at amounts of, $4 to $8 million in terms of capital budget improvements, we're right in line with that and doing, in my mind, the proper planning and proper presentation for that.
Thank you.
Dr. Kennedy?
I'm going to pick up where Mr. McCray left off and look at this from the mom perspective and thinking about our families at Shiloh Hills last year who had school closed because our HVAC system failed. We would not be good stewards of this district's buildings and financial interests if we don't plan for the future. And I did break out the extremely exciting feasibility study after last week, and I was reminded that our buildings are all aging. Even, it makes me laugh because I think of Spring Ridge as being one of the new buildings, but Spring Ridge's 30th anniversary, I think, is next year. Because it was only open a year when I was hired at this district. And, you know, when we got the feasibility study, I believe we were only on the board for about a year and a half. And in the past, 6 years since then, knowing what I know now, it's very daunting to read all of the things that are upcoming for our building. So I do not want to be responsible for hog-tying this board and future boards should something happen. We are sitting on, Whitfield and Cornwall. Cornwall's not getting the update that Southern is. Whitfield is an old building. This is a very old building. We would not be being fiscally responsible because things cost more in an emergency. When you need HVACs fixed right away, you're paying a premium, and I would much rather concentrate on doing things in a thoughtful, careful basis. It's not like our HVACs are 5 years old and we're just going to have a fun upgrade. This is stuff that's been in the pipeline, and I believe, when we came onto this board, there was a lot of kicking the can down the road. That's why we have 3 giant building projects going on at once. That's why we have an elementary school that should have never been knocked down to begin with, and we're rebuilding it in the same spot. And I will not be responsible for kicking the can down the road. Now, do I want marble floors? Absolutely not. That's not necessary at all. But when I look at things like the doors on Southern that are for safety's sake, that's a no-brainer for me. When I look at the classrooms that we're going to need, we're already doing classrooms here, we're going to need we can't just have the chorus room and the band room be extra unused space. We need classroom space. That's non-negotiable. That's a no-brainer for me. So I believe it is fiscally responsible for us to take this extra money out. And as long as we put our trust in Mr. Simcox and Mrs. Schlossman and Dr. Trickett, and we make a point to stay abreast of all of these things, because I know all the things that we had in Salmon, I don't feel are necessary. But I can see and I can read the old feasibility study, which, by the way, is 6 years old now, and to know all of the things that are at the end of life. And if 2 or 3 of those things, we all know how it goes. If your dishwasher goes, then you know you got 3 other appliances that are somehow going to die in your house. Our appliances are millions of dollars. So, and I cannot kick this can down the road anymore. So I will be voting yes, because it is the fiscally responsible thing to do.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Hart?
I do agree with Mr. Case that programs do need to be reevaluated, and I do, to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible and educating or impacting the greater need of the district. But I do believe that does happen, and I know it does happen at the high school because they do the program and studies book every year, which has to be approved by the Teaching and Learning Committee. So I do believe that's happening, and so we just haven't cut at this point, but I know the last thing I can remember is Mandarin Chinese. That was evaluated at one point. So, all right, thank you.
And just to add on to what Mr. Hart said, Dr. Kajufio, how many programs are over $1 million that we approve in teaching and learning?
Over $1 million?
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to say more than one.
I mean, it's not like we have millions of dollars. Like, we have a math program in the elementary school that's free online. Like, and the English language arts program that we just approved was the least expensive option by several $100,000. So if we're talking about programs that cost millions of dollars, are we talking about our entire extracurricular or our entire co-curricular? Are we going to cut all of band and chorus? Are we going to cut all of foreign language? Because we're not going out and purchasing things that are costing millions of dollars. Are we going to cut special ed and just send them to other districts? Because that's going to be a whole lot more expensive to send kids out. I mean, I'm looking around going, like, where are these magical, I just, you know, I don't know where they exist because we don't approve of them in the teaching and learning process. And when we do, they're, you know, we're buying books and they're not millions of dollars.
Thank you. Mrs. Denny?
Thank you. Yeah, I do agree that we can always look at our budget and see where we can find expenses because there's always going to be something in there. And going to the supermarket these days is a shock. You know, coffee, beef, eggs are crazy. So most households are cutting back. Most businesses are cutting back. The issue with the school district is that it's not quite the same. So many of our programs are legally mandated. We can't touch special ed. They would be, you know, even if we wanted to, which we don't, we can't just cut it and send it someplace else. We'd be sued into oblivion. And the biggest, like any business, the biggest cost that we have is personnel. And most of our personnel is under a bargaining agreement. So those kinds of cuts aren't as easy to make. And even if you could, nobody wants to pay taxes. I don't like to pay taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes. But I also don't want my child in a class with 50 other kids in high school, or especially in kindergarten. There's things that if we did them, people would be rightfully upset because that's not acting in the best interest of our kids. And what kind of keeps me up at night when I think about it is that Mr. McCrean are the latecomers to this board, so we weren't here. All the rest of you were on when this idea of a new elementary school started, which I think was 7 years ago. So 7 years from concept to shovels in the ground, because we have had shovels in the ground, we just haven't had backhoes in the ground yet. And that was 7 years. And I hear tale through different sources of massively large building projects that are under consideration. I don't know the number offhand, but I think we're talking, if all of them were to come to fruition that have been talked about, and I realize they probably won't, about 1,500 houses. And by law, every single child in one of those 1,500 houses, we would have to educate. And so if we string ourselves by saying, okay, we are going to go down to a bare strings budget, and we're going to tighten our belt, it's exactly like Dr. Kennedy said. It probably wouldn't affect us today. It probably wouldn't affect us in a year. But whatever board is here in 5 years and whatever administration is here in 5 years or 8 years or 10 years are going to be sitting here saying, we have 1,500 kids and we don't have a place to put them. And we have a failing HVAC system and we don't have the money to do that. And that's when you turn into a situation like some of the local schools that are raising their millage up to the maximum or are asking the state for an exception to have more than that. And so I feel like we have to find a balance between the two because you are right, we do need to be fiscally responsible. But I think to some degree we're where we are because in the past there was short-sightedness that fiscal responsibility meant never raising taxes. And that's not always the answer. We want to avoid tax raises at anything, but if that means that we need to do this money here so that we have a rate that extends and that avoids another tax rate hike, then that is perhaps the way to do it. So I want us to look at this as a larger perspective. And I'm saying that I don't want to discount your point because I think it's a very good point, Mr. Case, and I appreciate that perspective. I feel that you think that we are all on an opposite side as you, and I don't feel that we're on opposite sides. I think we're coming at this from slightly different perspectives. And so you can still be a no vote, we could still be a yes vote, but we can still work together to try to figure out a way to achieve all of the different ends.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Case?
I appreciate all the feedback. Again, I'm just asking that, we have a balance of deferred maintenance. And when we talk about let's go back 30 days or 60 days. We were not talking, it was in the feasibility study about air conditioners, et cetera, but 30 days ago, we were not talking about $10 million or $9 million and replacing 4 HVAC systems in the next 3 years. That conversation just came to the bubbled up to the top, and now it's all of a sudden, we have to do this, or we should be doing that. What I'm saying is we should find $1.2 million out of the general fund, and we should, if these are necessary, let's still do them. Let's do a balance of deferred maintenance, and $1.2 million for 8 years gets us to that $9 million that we need. And then we do an air conditioning system every 2 years, or what, I mean, that's my point. This is not about cutting lots of programs. I think within our large-scale budget of Wilson, we can find $1.2 million if we get our thinking caps on and dig deep enough. This isn't about not doing the right things for the school. So I'm challenging the administration and the board to pause here and say, hey, would we be able to do this? Because again, we just realized we have an opportunity to have more money now, and we're taking it. And what I'm suggesting is, yeah, we have the opportunity, but do we really need to go and jump on it at the rates that are out today, when rates are potentially coming down at some point, and that maybe we think twice about it? So I'd be all in for $50 million, but I'm just saying I'm not in for 60. So it sounds like this is probably going to happen anyway. So I'll be the one no vote, that's okay, but we got to get thinking about really taking a hard look at our programs and maybe some of our staffing decisions that we're making and say, are we doing the right things? I've been on the board for almost 8 years. I haven't really seen the board, other than one former school board member, really sort of try and put things in check and say, continue to check us. So, you got to pause every now and then and do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Yes,
Just
Mr.
one more,
Hart.
just clarification. At this point, we won't be able to go out for new debt for about 8 years. We can't restructure our debt for about 8 years. Is that correct? That's all right. But we can refinance it sooner. So if the rates do come down, we can always have the ability to refinance. So I just want to make that comment too.
Thank you for that point, Mr. Hart. Any other discussion from the board?
Yeah, I would just add, I think Mr. Case makes some very fair and very valid points, and I think obviously it's a matter of difference of opinion, and I think there should be multiple opinions on this. It's a large number. We're talking, 80 plus $80 million, so there should absolutely be thorough discussion and evaluation of all the options on that. To your point, you said we went from 50 to 60 million. There's probably opportunity, to go to 75 million, and I think there was some discussion and thoughtfulness, again, by the administration, through the finance committee and so forth, all the way up to this board, about landing on the $10 million additional number. That being said, none of this, placates or eliminates this board and the committee's responsibility in terms of controllership, in terms of how that money is spent, not only for this amount, but obviously for the budgets that we vote on every year in terms of the general funds that we allocate. So it is incumbent upon this board and future boards to make sure that any money spent are spent with thoughtfulness and with the best interests of our students, staff, and the community in mind, and none of what we're doing here tonight negates that or takes that away for future votes.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Any other discussion from the board? Okay, hearing none. Looking for a roll call for 9.6.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
No.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree? Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
Under Teaching and Learning, 10.1, request approval of a contract with Hope Educational Consulting Services to facilitate professional learning engagement sessions. 10.2, request approval of BCIU funding adjustments under Title I and Title II federal programs for non-public schools for the 2024-25 school year as attached. And 10.3, request approval of the affiliation agreement between Walden University and Wilson School District. Looking for a motion to approve teaching and learning items 10.1 through 10.3. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under food services, request approval of bid awards for the 2025-26 school year. Looking for a motion for 11.1. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Okay, do we, Mrs. Burkholder, do we have any public participation on non-agenda items?
No, we have no participation.
Thank you. And that takes us to any other business from the board. Dr. Kennedy.
I would like to give a big shout out to Mr. Hauser, the new band director, who has given me the greatest feeling of nostalgia ever. When I grew up, my house was 1 block away from our high school, which was, our high school was attached to our football stadium, much like our high school is now. So every single morning I would wake up at 7 a.m. to the band in the morning. And even though oddly West is 1.3 miles away from my house, I can hear the high school band practicing all the way up on top of the hill, and it's been so much fun, and they're just doing such great work, and I see them out, and they're all sweaty, and it was so hot last week, and all of them were hiding under the tent. I felt so bad for them, but I would love for them to practice at West for the remainder of because it's just been so much fun listening to them. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Other business from the board? Mr. Hart?
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot tonight. I just want to wish, it's an exciting time of the school year to kick off tomorrow. I want to wish the teachers, support staff, administration, students, and parents and the community great start to the school year. There are great things that are about to happen, and let's all celebrate it. So good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Mrs. Denny?
Yes, I just wanted to encourage parents as they go back to school for the different Meet the Teacher nights, which if anybody has a child in the high school, they would have gotten a 5:30 a.m. call today about Wednesday nights. So thank you, Dr. Weber. To really look around the building, because while the teachers get the summer off and the administration has a slightly lower workload over the summer, and we even have less meetings, our janitorial and facility staff have been working so hard to get all of these buildings in shape. And they do that every summer in terms of really deep cleaning. And to add to that this summer, they redid this entire wing of the high school on top of the other building projects. So if you're going to be here in the high school, make sure you come and you look around the administrative wings. Some of you, like me and a couple folks here, maybe remember when you had classes in this building, and they're going to have classes in here again. And that's just really exciting. And notice the clean floors and the shiny floors, and just, if you see any of the janitorial staff, thank them. It's not always, the elementary janitors, they get a lot of, the kids love on them, which is as it should be. But by the time in the high school, the kids maybe don't pay as much attention. So if you see them, thank them for all their hard work, and also if you see any of the facility staff.
Thank you, Mrs. Denny. Any other discussion from the board? Okay, well, we will see the staff, a number of us will see the staff early tomorrow morning. It's getting real. We think we need to start going to bed earlier to get into the groove. So good luck to everyone, and have a lovely evening. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Meeting adjourned.